The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to the K4Wins. Duke gets scared, Miami loses, and the Auburn Tigers are out. Gregory has been doing this now for 4 decades. He handicaps both sides of it. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He posts all of our plays. We're doing fantastic. We'll get our numbers in just a second. Of course, right below me is Keefer, chief editor of the Las Vegas Sun, live from Las Vegas. What's weather like out there in Las Vegas, by the way?
It's beautiful. Yeah. Alive, I'd say barely, but it's like mid-70s every day. So,
yeah, we used to go every January over my dad's birthday, which was January 14th, and the weather was always nice because he wanted to get the hell out of Cincinnati because it was always crappy. And then we'd always go in March for the race. It was always one of the first races of the year in NASCAR, so that was always a lot of fun.
It's NASCAR weekend here.
It is NASCAR. I know, man. I went every year for like the first 9 years, and I miss.
Who's going to win? Let's go. Well, who you got? I know you already bet it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on chalk. Chevrolet's been struggling, but this has been their track, and I bet Kyle Larson 5-1. I know it's pretty short, but he was plus 250 in this race a year ago, so I bought the I bought the increase.
Absolutely beautiful track, too. I mean, you got mountains on 3 sides. You're, an hour away from a casino. And quite frankly, for a lot of us who just, we like to go 3-4 days in a row, it's just really nice to get away from the track for a little bit and just kind of clear your head, and you just get a chance to go watch some great racing. It's fantastic. It's just a wonderful thing. It's like my dad says, we're not here to look at damn shows. We're here to gamble, damn it. And we're not looking at mountains. I'm like, okay, Dad, it's all right. Dude, so we need to look at mountains, but racing, that didn't count. All right, let's get right into it. As of right now, Oklahoma, Auburn, Indiana, New Mexico, those are the first 4 out. The last 4 in, VCU, Missouri, SMU, and Texas, according to Joe Lunardi, who's pretty doggone good. He has the Miami Redhawks at the 11 seed still in. He's got the Auburn Tigers out. Let's go around the horn real quick. 31-1. Should Miami be in? Kai?
Yes, 100%. I think 11 is a little bit low, but that actually gives them a better draw than what I would have them in that 8-9 game to go play a 1 seed if they win that game. I saw some of that in projections. I kind of like that. I think, but 6 is going to work out better, or 11 is going to work out better for them against a 6 seed for the second round matchup. They'd rather play a 3 than a 1. But I'm not going to get on my what I would call my keeper rant here, even though I could. I just think that it's more important. I understand. I love that, crappy teams get into a tournament, get on a hot run, make it the NCAA tournament. I think there should be a reward, though, for a season-long process where when you go 31-0, I don't care who you're playing air, 31-0 is still good. So, yes, I believe they deserve to be in. And even though they have like a 312 ranked schedule, Ken Palm and all that, yes, I believe they deserve to get in over Auburn.
Yeah, 296th right now is their schedule. Ken Palm's got them 93rd of all teams. And, of course, people will say, well, if you're taking 94 teams, they certainly deserve to get in. I agree with you. I think to go 31-0, which only 3 teams in college basketball has ever done, Kentucky and Wichita State, the other 2 teams to do, I think is worthy of getting in. I understand now if you're talking about the best teams, I know that if you put Auburn and Miami, Ohio on a neutral site game, that the Auburn Tigers would probably be favored by, 2 or 3 points, 4 points maybe, Case? Is that what it would be?
Yeah, I'd say at least 3.
So if you're one of those people that says, listen, I want the best, and screw everyone else, that's fine. But you tell those kids that went 31-0 because they lost 1 game. And, of course, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know what? If they wanted to make it easy on themselves, they could have just run like 1 or 2 games and been done with it. And that way we wouldn't have to argue about it. But you could also say that argument because they're now going to take an at-large bid away from a team like the Auburn Tigers. They could have done the same thing. They, of course, won their first game. If they beat Tennessee, I think we can all agree they're in. They had to win that first game, but if they beat Tennessee in that second game, which they, of course, did not, they'd be out. So if you want to make that argument that, listen, Auburn will be favored over Miami, I certainly get that. But if you're going to leave a 1-loss team out, I think would just be a travesty. Your thoughts, Case?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something to count for, what you do on the court and winning all these games. I mean, I completely agree. If we're just ranking the best teams, like they shouldn't be in the field if that's the way you're looking at it. But and even though that's how I'm trying to do things and trying to prognosticate and look forward, I don't think that's what should decide who's in the field. There's got to be something about gutting through and winning.
If you did that, then half the teams wouldn't be in.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to do that, then you'd say conference champions. I mean, should Queens be in? I don't know, but
if you look at the way the NCAA has been set up, and I don't know, they've changed this obviously with their metrics and analytics and all these different bullshit that they have in now. But it used to be they also, if there was bubble teams, they always looked at like their last 10 games, what they did in February and March. Auburn's lost 8 of their last 10. I mean, okay, so they won in the first round, and then they get to the team they're supposed to lose to. They played great for 30 minutes. Pettiford, I mean, was on fire. He had 25 points in the first 28 minutes of the game and finished with 28 points. He had a 3 the last 12. Tennessee went on a 20-0 run. Auburn has found ways to lose games they should have won in the last month of the season. And so if you go by what that analytic that they have gone by forever, there's no way Auburn and some of these other teams should be in or even be in consideration in theory.
Yeah, really difficult to look at a team like Auburn who's lost, 15, 16 games, and then you had a team that's lost 1. I get it. I know the schedule, I get that. And I thought Seth Greenberg brought up a great point. Put them in the playing game. Put them in Dayton. Put Miami in Dayton. Say, listen, if you're good enough to get in, then put them in a playing game. Let them play that 12 seed. Let them play that 12 seed game, and you can move things around. They can do that.
Play Auburn versus Miami of Ohio.
And last week when we did the show on Tuesday, Auburn and Miami were both in. So you could have certainly made that argument. You could have gone to 5-12 or whatever you want to do. The other interesting game I thought interesting, and we're going to go around the horn here, so we're going to get into all of it. Caleb Foster out for Duke. Obviously, we saw how much that hurt them last night. They get it done by a point against FSU. Boozer, of course, is back up. Quite the drop-off there. But Duke right now, Case, is the number 1 overall seed. You're losing your number 1 guard. How much does this play into whether you think Duke can win a national title or not?
Definitely a little bit. I mean, it wasn't a great start to the postseason yesterday. We'll see how they do the rest of the way. I mean, to me, I probably talked about it the last time we talked, but I have Duke and Michigan in kind of a tier of their own. I mean, that doesn't mean they're the only teams that can win the national title. Some other teams would have some things go right, but to me, it was neck and neck of who I think should be the favorite. And I do think this probably pushes it over the top, where if you told me right now I have to pick one team to win the tournament, I'd probably pick Michigan. That being said, Florida State's a little bit different stylistically. And I say this as someone who thought the line went too far. I would have bet Duke yesterday if I had to bet anything. But in hindsight, you can see some ways that Florida State could attack that. Specifically, we'll see how they do the rest of the way. But I think it certainly matters a little bit and enough to me to where, despite them beating Michigan earlier in the year, and I was on them in that game, I think Michigan would be my top pick if we were drafting NCAA tournament teams right now.
Kai, should Duke still be the number 1 overall seed?
Is he out definitely for the whole tournament?
He's out indefinitely, yes.
I think he's done, yeah.
He's finished.
I mean, no, I don't think – I'm not sure they're going to win today against Clemson without him. I got Clemson when it was plus 12.5. Now I think it's down to 10.5 or even 10 in some spots. And I like Clemson in this situation just because I don't know how Duke is going to bounce back. I agree that the matchup for Florida State was great, especially after he went out. But, I mean, they were playing really well early. I mean, Florida State, led for a lot of the game, especially early on. Watched it in the first half. And it was interesting because they were down by 1 at halftime, and they were a 10.5-point favorite in the second half after being, 16 or 17 for the game. So it was kind of interesting to watch that game and see. But I would absolutely – and the committee has to look at injuries just like when they kept – I know it's completely different. Florida State out of the college football playoffs when their quarterback got hurt. When your point guards got hurt and you've got one other point guard on your roster who's not great, that has to make a difference.
With a name like Boozer, too, you just expect it to be really, really good, I mean, he's obviously got the name. Yeah, and we got a ton of games going on. We're recording this show here, and it's actually live on YouTube. So we certainly picked some ball games that are going off this morning, which are starting in about 16 minutes. So super good stuff up there. Wanted to get into some of the SEC games, and we're going to get into those right off the top because some of those games are starting around noon. By the way, UAB Blazers, that's why I got a split, man. My son's in town. By the way, he is just jonesing last night after Clemson knocked off North Carolina. Good for him. He has not had a lot to hang his hat on in the 3 years of college because of that stinking football program, but at least the basketball program looked really, really good. And of course, one of my best friends is a North Carolina fan. So, but I'm siding with the Sun. Sorry, Charles, that's the way it goes. But the UAB Blazers, 20-11, there you go. Every year they get 20 wins regardless of who's playing for them. Andy Kennedy's doing something. They're favored by 5.5 against the 16-16 Charlotte squad. And yeah, I guess it's considered a home game. They're playing at the BJCC. Not even really going to get to that game. Let's go to the next one. Kentucky and Florida. Florida giving up the...
Wait a minute. We got to talk about it. You're going. I mean, what are y'all stock? If it was away, I would take UAB, all day minus, and I saw it at 5.
If Westry goes 20 plus, they win the basketball game. Period. And I'll just say that because we always talk about this time of the year, and it comes down to defense and it comes down to point guards. And Westry's their best point guard. He's undersized, but he's great with the basketball. I've seen him look sometimes like he could play for Duke, and other times he looks like he could play for Birmingham Southern, and they don't even play basketball anymore. So I'm gonna go West Street. Listen, they've got to play defense, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, they're 10-2 on the road. I don't care what you say. A third of the teams only win on the road. They've figured this thing out where it's us against the world, and maybe because they're playing across the street, not their home gym, maybe they can play into that. I don't know what kind of philosophy or reverse psychology that Andy can stick in their brains. But on the road, this basketball team plays fantastic, including knocking off Memphis last week, who they'll more likely play next. So we'll see what happens. But give it a 5.5. I don't know if I give a 5.5 to anybody at this point. Yeah, and Charlotte, of course, knocked off Tulane, which I think would have been a better matchup for the UAB Blazers. So, Homer, take UAB minus the 5.5. I do like the over 145.5 for the game, though, if you're going to go down there and you want to play a little bit. And by the way, only the lower bowl is open, so great seats for everyone. Kentucky, Florida. Florida giving up 11.5 and 159.5. Case, Keefer, which thoughts?
Unfortunately, I just made a bet on this game. The only thing I think I bet actually this morning, but I just think there's a ton of Florida steam coming in this morning. I like Florida. I think they win the game, but I saw a Kentucky 12.5, and I had to bet it. I think they just played at Kentucky. What was the number? I think it closed like 5.5. I'm pretty sure Kentucky lost by 7. I think I bet Kentucky +7. Was this just Saturday?
Yep.
All these games blend together. They just pushed, so I don't know. There's a lot of extra love coming for Florida, and I think it's a little too high for me. I've been on Florida a lot down the season, but man, it just seems like their numbers are getting smashed every day now. I made it 10, so when it came out 10 last night, I was like perfect. But I don't know. I had to provide some resistance. I just think Kentucky probably hangs around and loses a somewhat close game, probably a similar score to what happened last weekend.
And then there's another one of those games, Kai, where Florida's won 11 games in a row. They've got the 1 seed now. They're playing at Kentucky, who's a 7 seed. Kentucky's going to get in either way if they lose to Florida or not. So this is a great setup for them. If they knock them off, they may move up a spot, maybe to a 6 seed, but it really doesn't matter. But so what are we playing for? I mean, we're playing for a championship here, right?
I think Todd Golden wants to win the SEC championship. I think he wants to run through the tournament. If I played this game, I don't know, the total 160. Kentucky's third game in 3 days, and they have not looked good from the three-point line. Atrocious yesterday, actually, especially early on from the three-point line. I think Kentucky has probably reached their limit. They're probably going to have, Big Blue Nation, which I hate saying this, just so stupid to say that over and over again. But I talked to my uncle who lives in Nashville. He said it seats 20,000, and when Kentucky's playing, 16,000 of them are wearing blue. But I think Florida's going to travel as well. If it was under 10, I think I would have to hammer Florida. The only way Kentucky stays close is if they slow the game down. They cannot run up and down the floor with Florida.
Can Kentucky slow it down? I mean, that's the question. Can they play that style of basketball?
Yeah, they can. I'm not sure Mark Pope's smart enough to do it.
Yeah. And Kentucky's so bullheaded. They've always been that way. They're Kentucky. They should be. They're the big blue nation. You're never going to tell them how they need to play the game. You're going to play it our way. And if we get beat by 20, we get by 20. Speaking of the devil, which I think is probably the game of the day for me anyway, just because of the close proximity, Tennessee Vanderbilt. I know you were all over this game. Vandy giving up a 1.5 over on a 146.5 just came out. You got 25 against 22. What a beautiful game in the SEC in the semi-quarterfinals here. The quarterfinals, should I say, in the SEC. We're going to start with the man who's wearing the orange hat. What you think?
I want to say Tennessee. It's going to depend on whoever's the most physical team. When Tennessee went to Vandy, they out-physicaled Vandy, dominated inside, won the game. When Vandy came to Tennessee and won, no Nate Ament, but they went inside. They were physical. They dominated the game. With Nate, I do think Tennessee should win this game. I don't think Jacoby Gillespie and Bishop Boswell and some of these other guys can miss as many shots as they did yesterday. Tennessee missed 15 shots from inside 3 feet.
Yeah,
against Auburn.
That was
still
insane.
won by 10.
Yeah, still won by 10.
It's horrible. As a homer, I'm going to pull for Tennessee. I'm probably not going to wager on this game. I'll have to give it to people that their heartstrings are not pulling at them. But I do think both teams. I think it stays under.
Stays under. Okay. Case, your thoughts on Tennessee Vanderbilt?
Oh, and Tennessee has nobody to stop Tanner from Vandy. Their point guard who can score at will and did against Tennessee is the main reason, just like Pettiford did.
Okay.
I didn't bet anything on this game. It's interesting. About a day ago, if this was the number, I probably would have bet Vanderbilt. I wasn't shocked that Ament ended up playing yesterday, but I was shocked how good he looked. I thought that it might take a little bit of time, but he just torched Auburn down the stretch, and I was on Auburn in that game. I've been higher on Vanderbilt than the market all year. Obviously, it paid off early in the year, and SEC play not really. I looked at this as a spot where I thought they'd get over Tennessee, but again, Tennessee, a lot of the factors you guys mentioned in the game yesterday, they kind of scare me. So I don't know. You said it might be the game of the day. Certainly the game of the day in the SEC. Maybe just one to sit back and watch. You pick up on something, bet it live. But I don't really see an edge either way.
I love those games where it's usually a 1.5 or point that way. All you basically is have to win the game, but we've certainly seen teams lose by 1, 2. We're in Birmingham as we do this show, and of course it airs all over the place on the Tony Kurre Radio Network. Thanks to thousands of folks who download the app. We've got over 100,000 downloads, and of course people love this show, and we try to keep it as topical as we possibly can, and so we must talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide giving up 11.5 against Ole Miss. A very interesting game. Alabama just needs to take care of business, Guy.
Fear the beard. Ole Miss,
yeah,
third game in 3 days, but they have been busting their humps on defense and playing very well. That being said, if I play it, I got to lay it with Alabama. They just killed Ole Miss a month ago. If I play it, that's the way I would go. I would go with Alabama. I don't know. Alabama's team total is 87. Ole Miss has been playing pretty good defense. And that new arena that Alabama hasn't played in, Ole Miss's third game in the arena, Alabama's first game, their three-point shooting may not be on, especially early. So right now, I'm really strongly leaning to Alabama under their team total of 87, which is against everybody on earth.
Yeah, 87, 77, kind of like 87, 67, something like that, or 76. The over-under 163.5 case. You got a thought on this game?
Not really. I actually bet Alabama at a big price to win the tournament. So I like that they're getting to play Ole Miss in that regard. They're a bigger favorite. That being said, for a game-by-game betting, I'm actually kind of disappointed because I would have loved them in that rematch with Georgia after getting embarrassed by Georgia 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. I feel like that was kind of fluky. Georgia hit everything. Alabama had a big dry spell. We talk about the style Alabama plays. It just lends itself to sometimes things like that happening. But you put them and Georgia on the court together, just playing similar styles. I think Alabama most of the time blows them out. So I think that would have been a great spot, and I would have been on Alabama today if it was Georgia. Ole Miss just scares me a little bit. Just obviously a huge number. Looks like they're playing with nothing to lose. I have just like the utmost respect for Chris Beard, although this year has not gone well at all. Maybe he figured something out. I know they're doing things a little bit different defensively. So they scare me just enough to where I wouldn't want to lay a huge number. I'll just root for Alabama to advance, and maybe there will be a spot to take them tomorrow just because I would like Arkansas more, but I'm just worried about their injury situation. And Calipari over the years has just cared less and less about these conference tournaments. So I do think it's a good spot for Alabama to get to the championship game out of the bottom half of that bracket. We'll see how the top half plays out. I'm a lot more scared about the top half between Florida, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. I could see any of those teams coming out.
This is not your daddy's Virginia defense, too. Every time I think about Virginia, I think about these 56-55 games, 60-55 games from a couple of years ago. They have now given up over 70 points their last 5 ball games. The over-under 143.5. Miami comes calling, and they're getting 3.5, which should be, I mean, if you're outside that Tennessee Vanderbilt game, this could be just a fantastic game to watch. That over-under 143.5. Normally on a 140 game like that, particularly with Miami, I'd take the under, but something makes me want to shed over a little bit. To Kai, what's your thoughts on that?
Miami sold out yesterday on that win.
By the way, Miami 20-7 against the spread this year. They're pretty good, yeah.
They are, and I agree with you. Looking at the last month, Virginia's defense has not played the way they're capable of playing, but they have lost to some pretty damn good teams. It's a game that I agree. I think it's one of those you watch, you look, and you hope, and that's why you subscribe or look at our site every day, because we find better matchups than just the marquee games that everybody wants to bet. But I mean, if I had to play that, I do think I would probably take Miami and take, especially if I can get it to 4 or 4.5. I would really like it. But I'm going to wait till probably 5 o'clock to make a play on this game and look at the lines to see what happens with the rest of the day as well.
Yeah, these are night games, by the way, and that's why I wanted to get into these things, because a lot of people obviously will have a little bit more time to go ahead and put some wagers down. Virginia and Miami of Florida. What's your thoughts, Case?
I can never get either of these two teams right. I think I bet against them both yesterday in 0-2, which is kind of how the season has gone with those two teams. I really like Virginia. I think they're well coached. I like the style change under Odom. Yet it just seems like every time I dip in and think there's value and bet them, that they don't cover. And then yesterday I thought it was a little high against NC State. NC State obviously was covering the whole time, but fell apart there at the end. And Miami, I don't know how they're doing it. I think Jai Lucas has done just a tremendous coaching job, and I didn't see it coming. I know Renault is unbelievable, but I don't feel like they have enough around him to where they should have been whatever they were, 13-0 in the ACC at one point. I guess you just said 20-7 against the spread. It makes sense to me because I'm always betting against them. They usually come through. That being said, thankfully, I don't have the screen in front of me, but I made this number 4 last night. It was 4, so I had absolutely nothing on this game. I like Virginia's personnel way better though. So if I had to make a play, I'd be going back to the well against Miami and probably upset at the end of the night.
We talked briefly at the top about Duke and Caleb Foster. We know what he can do from a point guard situation, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. But what does it mean for Duke's defense to lose him? Because now they're taking on a Clemson squad that knocked off North Carolina. What's interesting enough, I love when you see lines like 10.5 or 11, but the over-under is only 132. That means they have to play lights out, good defense. If Clemson can somehow put up 32-34 in the first half, they're going to fly over the total. Kai, what's your thoughts on Duke giving up 10.5 to the Clemson Tigers?
I mean, I hate being in this situation because I'm in the situation, looking at yesterday, kind of the same way I am in the UMass Toledo game. I'm looking at them both the same, where I just wonder how high Clemson's going to be coming into this game, just like I wonder how high UMass is going to be coming into Toledo after beating Miami of Ohio yesterday. But I mean, I like Clemson in the game, but I think if Clemson's going to cover, it has to go over.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I think
it's a huge defensive loss for Duke, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's do some rock chalk plus 6.5. Maybe buy it up to 7 against the Houston Cougs. Another great matchup. God, these matchups are so stinking. This is such a great time of the year. I mean, 5 against 14. It's just like game after game after game. It goes off 8:30 later on tonight. What's up with your Jayhawks there, my man?
Some great games. It's making me realize, though, I basically don't have anything on any of the good games today because I didn't bet this one either. It seems like it's gotten a little high now. That being said, I like Houston a lot better than Kansas overall, but I only made it 5, 6.5. I think Kansas deserves like a semi home boost for what the crowd looks like in Kansas City. I mean, they just always have a great. I actually think Iowa State does too, which why I think that line is a little high. I mean, that the crowd seems like it's like 50% Iowa State, 50% Kansas, and there are a few smattered in of every other team. So I don't know. Kansas worked Houston pretty good at Allen Fieldhouse, but I feel like the way Houston defends and just their physicality. I mean, it's kind of it seems like on paper, if you ignore the first matchup, it would be a good matchup for Houston. So I don't know. My gut tells me Houston wins, but the number's getting a little bit expensive now. If it got to 7, I might actually bet KU. 7, kind of like a semi-key number in college basketball. I think this will be a little bit slower game. Not a whole lot of points, not a lot of room to separate. So I'd be pretty surprised if Kansas won, but I'd be targeting 7. I might take them plus 7.
Oh, good question. Why is 7 a key number?
The last time I looked at the data, which has been a few years, admittedly, but just a lot of games land at 7. I think the free throws and fouling at the end of games are down, but I think it had something to do with just when coaches kept fouling and kept going for it, being right around that 2 possessions. If you were within 2 possessions, it seemed like you'd foul until the final whistle, and so then a lot of games would land 7 right above the 2 possessions. It's obviously still. In that same range, so 6 and 7 are kind of the last 2 numbers that I really care about in college basketball. Like if a game's at 6.5, it's pretty rare that I will definitely plus 6.5. I'll wait and try to get the 7. Obviously, laying 6 is a lot better too. But yeah, I think fouling at the end of games and just coaches' threshold was a big reason why it was so important traditionally, and it still probably carries a little bit of that.
Kai, before I get your thoughts on this Kansas-Houston game, I love playing overs. There's nothing better than having a game that's sitting like at 121 and the over-under is 143 and there's 2 minutes left and you're like, okay, this is not going to happen. And they start fouling. And all you got to do is have that team that's down by 8 or 9. They got to hit a couple of threes because it doesn't matter if they're down by a dozen. If they make a 3, they're calling a timeout or they're fouling right out the bat. They could be, and you just love to see that. There's a lot of people that have had their backs broken because of that philosophy in play. Case, real quick, do you see a lot of people play more overs during tournament time, knowing that, hey, listen, we don't win this game? Maybe in this particular case, like for example, where Kentucky, who's a 7 seed, they lose, they're still going to get in. But certainly when you start playing tournament time, you lose, you're going home. Does that change the over-under at all?
Yeah, I don't know if that's why, but definitely just it's all over money this time of the year, at least in Las Vegas, and it's no hard reason. It's not some mysterious reason to figure out why. We've talked about how tourism's kind of down in Vegas, not great, but you still drive around these next couple weeks. There's going to be a lot of people packing ballrooms, watching basketball games, and no one wants to bet. The masses don't want to bet on something not happening. They want to bet on points and they want to go crazy at the end of the game. So there will be just a ton of recreational money on over. I think especially starting with the actual tournament, but even this week for sure. It's very rare you're going to find a sports books that I'd say like 90% of the time they're rooting for games to go under because of how much over money they're taking.
Kai, Kansas, Houston 5.5. What you like?
Put me with the rec players. I like the over in this game. I think the free throw line extends it. I think Peterson has a good game for Kansas, if he plays. If he doesn't play well, Kansas has no chance. But I can see this game going over, and I can see Kansas winning. I get what they did at Allen Fieldhouse, and I totally understand that. But I like what Kip's talking about with the home court advantage. But it's funny because I'm on the absolute opposite side of Iowa State. I think Arizona is going to run them out of the freaking building.
Okay, there you have it. I'm looking over Lenardi's stuff, and he is kind of the Bible when it comes to stuff. It's amazing how close he is on some of these things. And look at some of the early matchups for March Madness. It's never too early. And we'll look through some SEC teams. Georgia, TCU, which is obviously an interesting matchup. Tennessee, Akron, that 5-12 matchup is always an interesting matchup. I'm just going to throw some games out here. If you guys jump on something.
Maybe Tennessee can win today and Kansas lose, and they flip-flop, and Tennessee's the 4 and Kansas is the 5.
That could be. And then,
if we're throwing out games, I really think Iowa State, Arizona is probably the game of the day. And sounds like no surprise we're on opposite sides because I haven't liked Arizona as much all year. I will say that was one sportsbook open 5.5 last night. Unfortunately, it's a sportsbook where I'm limited, so I had to log in like 3 different accounts, and I still didn't get as much money as I would have liked. But I thought Iowa State plus 5.5 was an absurd number. Now that same sportsbook's all the way down to 3.5. There's 3.5s now. At 3.5, it's less I mean, the margins are slim in this thing. I only made the game 3, so I would still lean Iowa State. I think Iowa State's so much more well-rounded. I know Arizona's gotten by despite their flaws, and they just out-athlete everyone. But
yeah, they do.
I just a team that can't shoot, that has some defensive shortcomings. I can't get over the feeling it's going to bite them at some point. Iowa State. I don't like that Iowa State's now had to play one more game than them. They fell to the 5 in the Big 12 somehow, but. Yeah, if somehow Arizona money comes in, which I don't think it will, like I said, I think Iowa State deserves a little bit of a home court advantage. But yeah, the 5.5 to me, if we were doing the show last night, that was my best bet of the day, even though I didn't get as much money down on it as I would have liked.
Attaboy.
I think if you wait till 5 o'clock on that game, you're probably going to see it under a possession. I think it might drop down to 2.5. Maybe I'm crazy, just the way everything's going. I think the public's going to be all over Iowa State early, but I do think after 5 o'clock, you may see a reverse and all the Arizona money that he's talking about that hadn't shown up come in kind of late. So if you can get maybe 4 o'clock this afternoon and get and wait and get Arizona at 2.5, I'd love to play. But I like this Arizona team. Don't get me wrong. I do like what Iowa State's done. I just think Arizona is playing well. I love Barrios. I mean, I love the freshman guard. You got Toby Awaka there, who was at Tennessee for a few years, who I absolutely love and hated that he left. I really like Arizona. The sides I'm on, I have to wait longer and longer and longer these days because the lines are against me early, and then they get better for me. It seems like over the last 3 days, the later in the day we wait.
How many times we jumped on something? I got to jump on it. And then if you just waited a little bit longer, you would have gotten another 1.5. Yeah, the interesting thing about that, too, is they're playing out of the West, the San Jose bracket. You just look at Long Island, UCLA, and A&M are the other 3 teams that could perhaps be in that bracket with Arizona. Nothing's really, that should not be a problem. It should not be an issue.
Yeah, they crush that.
Yeah, they're going to crush through that with absolutely no problem.
Let's look at another game. We're going to be on opposite sides of, because it's March, and so who am I backing in March? Always. Case. Who am I back? What coach
the guy who has a losing record against the spread in the NCAA tournament, but people say you can't bet against him. I saw that when I was doing some work earlier this week, and yeah, he's been like torching money on fire for the last 10 years in the NCAA tournament. I didn't bet this game today though.
Minus 5.5 today against UCLA. That's been playing pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't totally dismiss UCLA Arizona. I do remember. I mean, that UCLA Arizona game earlier this year. I think it was at a new. Maybe it was in LA, but it wasn't at Pauley. I mean, it came down to the final minute and Arizona won. So maybe UCLA, I guess, could put a scare into Arizona. I think Arizona's gotten better since then. But I think UCLA's been much better. They could be a team to look out for.
As of right now, they have them sitting there at that. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm sorry. I'm mesmerized by the number. They're sitting there at that 8 seed. I'm looking at the other bracket on the other side because of Clemson is slated to play Ohio State, who about a week and a half ago was on the outside looking in, and all of a sudden they're up to an 8 seed. They're playing some really good basketball. So I think that 8-9 matchup should be really, really good too. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, anything else jumping out to you guys on the schedule for today in case we missed anything? And obviously we kind of have to wait to see what's going on with a bunch of the games to get matchups for tomorrow. But anything else you guys want to jump into? We certainly didn't talk a lot about the SEC of Georgia 8, Arkansas 5, Tennessee 5, Missouri 11, Alabama's all the way up to a 3 seed, Kentucky 7, Florida's got that 1, A&M 9, Vanderbilt 5.
I like Arkansas tonight. I know that we didn't really talk about that game.
Yeah, go for it.
Even though Oklahoma's been playing better, I do think Arkansas comes in, and I agree. Calipari doesn't really care about the SEC tournament, especially in years that he loses. He cares in the years that he wins. But I like Arkansas tonight, and maybe I'm crazy. I saw this line, and I've looked at it every single way you can. I absolutely love Purdue -3 over Nebraska, or 3.5, or 4, or 5, or 6.5, or 7.
Case, your thoughts?
Yeah, my actual number came out right where it is, so I couldn't bet it. But my instinct tells me that this should be a smash spot for Purdue. I feel like They were crushing Northwestern yesterday and kind of sat out their starters. It seemed like I think Northwestern might have even come in the back door and covered when they had no business doing so. Purdue's been such a letdown, but I still think they're pretty scary. And man, I like their personnel way better than Northwestern. So I haven't gotten on this yet. I only see 3.5. Maybe if it's a 3, I talk myself into it. I will say SEC wise, we didn't really touch on Oklahoma, Auburn. I don't necessarily know that I love it, but another one we're on opposite sides. I actually bet OU plus 6.5 last night. Now I wish I would have waited. Another one, it's 7 everywhere now. It's always tough to juggle. Like, how much do you adjust these teams that are super hot right now? I love the way Oklahoma's playing. We talked about the Calipari factor. I would give the coaching check mark to Porter Moser any day. And now with the way they're playing, maybe I waited too much recency on Oklahoma. I also want to see what A-Cuff's like. I mean, are they really going to push him in the SEC tournament when he's been hurt? So I bet Oklahoma at a bad number in that game. And I'll also say, just to circle back to another game we were talking about, I see some Tennessee money pouring in. The board is lighting up Tennessee as high as a 1.5 point favorite now. So some confidence on the Vols somewhere.
All right.
Hey, Tony, I really love being opposite of like 8 games of a guy that does this for a living.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
We're not opposite that. I really didn't bet that much today, and I don't have any huge bets. I will say I loved that opening Iowa State number. And Oklahoma was marginal, actually. I would still bet them at 7, but I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot today, so
you gave enough. I'm just glad that I'm
crazy. My 2 favorite plays are Alabama under 87 and Purdue minus the 3. And I got it at 3, but I did buy the hook to 3. Those are just my 2 favorite plays.
We'll keep a close eye on those 2 games, and I'm just happy that I'm rooting for a team that I don't have to worry about bubble watch, man. I'm just, we don't lose sleep. We just win, and we're in. And we lose, and we're done. I'm not concerned, Mark. I actually had a conversation with him. They had an emergency meeting with the AAC yesterday, which I have not heard what that was all about, but it had something to do with the Saturday thing in Washington, D.C., so he had to cancel his show yesterday, and normally wouldn't do that. But he did bring up the fact that, they're already looking at the NIT. And I'm like, hold on a sec there, partner. You got 20 wins under your belt. And he goes, no, not to say that I don't think we can win this tournament. They can win the AAC. But yeah, they're just looking to, with the 20 wins, NIT is not going to be an issue for the UAB Blazers. Hopefully they can get a victory today.
Tony, I saw a great satirical thing I thought you would love. I know Case would, and I'm going back to football because I know how Case and I felt in the playoffs. But I saw a post on Twitter, X, whatever you call it nowadays, from Notre Dame, that they are officially removing themselves for consideration for the NCAA tournament this year.
Oh, okay. All right, good. The only bad thing about where the UAB Blazers are playing too is the prices. Jeez Louise, man. You get down to the BJCC and you're only allowed to use credit cards. You can't use cash, which I absolutely hack, because last time I went down there, I paid $48 for a hot dog because someone didn't know how to use the machine. And the second thing is hot dogs are like $12. You go to Bartow Arena. That's the one thing about like the size of UAB. You can get down there and feed the entire family for under $20, and I appreciate that. I know it's the style of basketball and it's what you get, but I'm all about taking my whole family out and eating and drinking and having a good time. We will definitely eat before we get to the BJCC today. My son will not be eating at the BJCC. I'm not going to spend $100 on lunch.
There is no doubt that you're buying him something to eat.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. If we got to stop at McDonald's and pack our pockets, that's what we'll do. But I am not buying shit from the BJCC. Their $9 smart water, they can take it and stuff it up there. You know what? All right, guys, thank you very much.
Next week when we talk about this, I'm going with Tony Curry buys something for his son at the game today with a minus 210 money line.
Jeez Christ!
He seemed pretty fired up. I don't know.
200. You talking about $210 or 210 money line?
Money line.
God, I wish I had $210 in my pocket. That would make me feel like a wealthy man now.
I wouldn't help you any at all because it's only credit, no cash.
Yeah, I hate that. By the way, there's something in the Bible about that. The mark of the beast. When you can't use American cold hard cash, or when I go to Domino's. The other night, I go to Domino's. And my bill was $47.35. I got 3 pizzas. They had a deal, $47.35, and they wouldn't take my fucking $50 bill. And I said, why? We don't take 50s. I was like, it's $47. I'll just leave it here. You can have the $3. You can have the rest of it. We can't take 50. And I said, so I had to go somewhere. I went to a Dollar General of all places. This is my old man coming out. A Dollar General where they sell crap for $1. You wouldn't think they would take a 50, right? They changed me out the 50, gave me two 20s and a 10 so I could go pay Domino's or $47. And of course, I gave them the exact change. I said, you're not getting a tip on this crap. That's unbelievable. So yeah, there's something to be said about that. Just if places don't take, it says right there, God, on my money, it says you need to take it. If you don't take it, then you don't want my business. But unfortunately, I have to play the way they did the BG.
We had to get a Tony Curry useless fact, and that was the one. Who takes
that was it.
Who does not?
Yeah, my son also got almost fired for being considered racist yesterday because he didn't touch someone's crab claws because he's afraid he's going to get diseased from shellfish. So there you have it. All right, my friends, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We'll be back on Tuesday. Case, thank you for everything you do. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We love you. And go check out K4Wins.com, 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 and get all of our plays. By the way, real quick, how did we do this past week?
This week, so far, since the podcast, we're 15 and 10, 18 and 14 last week, 91 and 38 in February, and 251 and 142 year to date, 63.8%.
Nice. Go Blazers. Thank you, guys.
Go Blazers.
Sorry.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.